All right. So that's what was going on. Because I was wondering, I was like, what's going on? So who do we got here? We got Miss Ripley, everybody's favorite warrant officer on the mining ship Nostromo. So let's go ahead and put some white paint on her so that I can use my quick paints and express paints and various other uh, contrast paint knockoffs slash improvements in a lot of way, I think. Because the goal is, since these are actually, I mean, I would use them as miniatures in a sci-fi game, obviously. Hey, crafting gamer. Yeah, I was over there watching Bear's stream, but I guess Bear's internet decided to just literally die. It was like, made me sad. Happy Tuesday to Daniel. Tears Day. I think Tuesday is Tears Day, and Thursday is Thor's Day. Interesting how, almost all of the days of our week are named after Norse gods, except for Saturday, which is Saturn, who some people also associate with the Canaanite god Baal. But anyway, yeah, I'm just sitting here doing the super dry brush white zenithal over this really dark gray primer I put on these guys uh, about however many hours ago. I'd say 16 or 12. It was first thing this morning. And I generally don't bother with rattle can primer, but I was like, screw it, let's give it another shot. So this is Wierzbowski, unless you say the W like a V, then it would be Verbowski. I mean, it is a Polish name, so we got our Slavic brother here. Somebody's contacted me on Discord. I really need to be more active on my own Discord. I really do. I've been horrible about being on my own Discord. Ah, you got your airbrush. Nice. Yeah, I got one out in the garage. You've heard the story. It's like I used it for a while. I find that it's amazing for really big things like vehicles and stuff, but um, when it comes to space marines and stuff like that, it's good for putting like a base coat on. But then after that, you go to the brush. And now the guys that are actually good with them, which I'm not one of and never pretended to be, they can do all kinds of cool like blending and all this kind of crazy great effects with them. But as I said, that I'm not one of those guys that's super good at using an airbrush. Most of the time, I use the airbrush to paint my Imperial Guard vehicles and stuff like that because um, for some reason, when you do camouflage patterns or something on a tank with an airbrush, it just looks better. I mean, So when I was painting my World War II Soviets or Germans or Americans, uh, you know, doing it with an airbrush just makes it look really, really cool. But yeah. So let me divide these guys out. I've got a pack of undead Civil War skeletons. So skeletons, but they're dressed up in Civil War uniforms. That I just seen the STLs and I thought, yeah, I'm going to print some of those guys out. And I'll probably paint some of them Confederate and some of them Union. And just stare at them. And if we ever play Deadlands, they might be, you know, a good thing to have. Another thing I've been seriously staring down is there is a game or a miniature designer on My Mini Factories that does like almost all of the monsters from Gamma World. And I am seriously like freaking hot in my pants to get some of those. And by some of those, I mean like all of them. You know? They even got monsters from Mutants and Masterminds. Or not Mutants and Masterminds. Mutant Future or whatever. Because they've got like the goat-headed spider goat things and whatever. But they've got squirrels and the Carrions, the Dark Emperors or whatever. You know, Orlans, Centisteeds, etc. And yeah, I'm 100% hot over that. Yeah. I mean, Gamma World 2nd Edition, that is a game that I would definitely try to talk my players into playing. No doubt. Yeah, airbrushes are good for base coating. See, basic highlighting, I don't know. I'm not skilled enough to try to do some shit like that, you know. But definitely they're amazing if you need a primer or if you're dealing with just a large flat surface and you want it to look perfect. Yeah, airbrushes are amazing for that. You know, because trying to paint camouflage on a tank with a brush, unless you thin the paint way down and you're willing to go over it, like, you know, the whole thin paint, two layers at least. Yeah, if you're not willing to do that, you're going to have problems because you're going to end up with the armor looking streaky or just not looking right. And, you know, but like I said, I just never, I think it's the old, you know, the old dog and new tricks thing for me, you know. I've just grown so used to doing things the way I do them that it's literally difficult for me to do them any other way, really. Yeah, it's like, which, you know, I mean, that's a normal thing. I guess I am set in my ways. I kind of like to just do what I do. Yeah, I just cut this guy's head off. Sure did. Sometimes I will print multiple bodies, 3D print them, and then cut the heads off of some of them and put some of the spare heads I have from like War Games Atlantic kits or whatever on them. So this guy, he's actually going to get another 3D printed head, except it's from a War Games Atlantic STL set that they gave me for free. Well, it's not for free. I pay them $10 a month, and as a result, they send me STLs all the time. So it really does, in the long run, doing the math, it works out. But since this guy's kind of wearing a military uniform, even though he's not really doing anything military, he is getting ready to be the proud recipient of a Rebel Yell head. I know you guys can't see this, but the thing with the Rebel Yell head is the helmet slopes way back, right? So it looks very, very similar to the high hazard combat helmet in Traveler 2300. So, like, if you ever seen the cover of Traveler 2300, how they're wearing like the purple uniforms and they got that helmet, it looks almost identical to that helmet. So, yeah, a couple of these guys are going to just get those helmets, you know. Now, whether I paint them, a specific color or not, that's a whole different subject, obviously. But yeah, we're going to have a couple of guys with those helmets. There we go. And in that way, parts of two STLs have worked together to create an entirely unique figure. Of course, not unique if you guys actually take the idea, which I suggest you do. I mean, sometimes a simple head swap or something can be I don't know. I never used the dry brush for like terrain because the one I had, the actual kit bowl that the reservoir didn't really have enough stuff in it. I mean, it just didn't hold enough paint, is basically what I'm saying. It didn't hold enough paint, So a lot of times when I paint terrain, I use craft paint because I'm cheap and I'm not going to use a bunch of my super expensive Vallejo paint. Hey, Bear. Yeah, I was just watching your show and your internet died. There is a link up there. You're welcome to join. We're just talking about painting miniatures, though. And how I, like to do head swaps and weapon swaps and stuff on my miniatures, because then, you make something unique. And I like that. So, like this guy right here, I'm going to put a helmet on him. And he's got like you don't see the link? He's got like a big pistol, but if I wanted to, I could easily clip that pistol off and put, a shotgun or any other weapon there. So, yeah, you end up with two identical figures that become two completely different figures. And these guys are sci-fi guys I'm working on right this second. So the ones I'm doing head swaps, I'm going to put them to the side so that the glue can get completely dry before I start doing the zenithal highlight on them, because I don't want to knock the head off before the glue is dry. So, yeah. Like this, can't swap his head with a helmet head because he's actually holding his helmet. He's a pilot, though, so. And what I'm going to do is, when it comes time to play this game, whether that...
Hi there, James. You
Hello,
got a
Matt.
beautiful stream. Some might say the best stream.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that, but others do.
Yeah. You got it like Trump today when they asked him about Gavin.
Yeah.
Gavin, he's a nice guy.
I like the
like
guy.
him, but he's completely incompetent. It's like, oh my God. He always starts out with the compliment and then drops the frickin' bomb.
Yeah.
It's like, he's a nice guy. I like him, but he is completely incompetent.
We're going to charge him.
And I kind of hope he goes to jail.
He's going to jail For
It's
being a
like
bad
that's not a
governor.
friendly thing to say, you know. Like he's a nice guy, I like him,
I'd put
but
him in
I hope he
jail just
goes
for
to
being a
jail.
bad governor.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, I'm just sitting here painting up actually some sci-fi and some, I would say, pulp miniatures
No.
because they're undead Civil War soldiers, and of course you can't tell which army they might have been in because I mean the uniforms are pretty much the same except for the color.
Yeah.
So I'll paint some of them Confederate, and I'll paint some of them Union, get a good mix of it, and I'll stare at them and probably never use them unless somehow at some point we end up playing some Deadlands, which I'm not going to hold my breath on, even though Deadlands is a perennial favorite around this house. A lot of my players love Deadlands, but it's not a game we play very much. Now, in the past, we've played a shit ton of it. Oh, look, Haas finally answered my. Yeah, for the first 7 minutes I was streaming, I forgot to add YouTube. Oh, looks like Bear got knocked off again.
Yep.
I
Bear's internet is really sketchy right now.
I was looking. I was on the phone with Windrunner when you
Oh,
sent me the
yeah?
link. Yeah,
What's his problem?
I was adjusted his Conan server.
Oh, okay.
Bear's back.
Bear's back? Okay. Have you been looking into a Dune server?
Uh, Talked to a buddy of mine, Armstrong. You know Armstrong. He does. He's the
Can you
Polish
hear
guy.
me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
he's the Polish guy who lives in Ireland, who does all the car war stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, he bought the game today, and it's still very buggy. But I will probably buy the game tomorrow.
I
And
thought you already bought the game.
No, I was waiting. I don't like to pre-order things just in case.
See,
Yeah.
based on your bullshit, I bought it like a week ago.
Well, good. I'm buying it
About a
tomorrow.
week ago. About a week ago. Anyway.
I don't like to pre-order things just in case.
Just in case they're terrible. You need to figure it
No,
out.
I don't care if they're terrible or not. I just don't pre-order shit just in case.
Well, I mean, I think our brother Windrunner learned about pre-ordering games.
Yeah, with
Which game are you guys talking about?
Conan or
The Dune survival game. Flames of Freedom, Grim and Perilous RPG. No, I am not. I think though I saw the cover and it had like a slave and some other bullshit fighting in the Revolutionary War or something, and I thought, yeah, that's stupid.
yeah, our brother Windrunner pre-ordered the Vampire Masquerade Bloodlines game
Years ago now.
years ago, and it's still not come out.
He also pre-ordered Last of Us
that's
2
Yeah.
Ooh.
and then hated it. Oh my god, he was so upset when they killed Joel.
Well,
No.
my buddy Armstrong said that it's like Conan in space.
Am I a robot right now?
No, you're fine.
You're fine. Before you get your still suit, your main goal is to just find water.
Daryl, don't, I mean, you know, I'll never tell other people what they can do with themselves, but there are very few creators out there that I will not support at all. And the guy who created Zweihander is 100% one of them. And that's not even necessarily because of how leftist, bullshitty he might be or not. It's because I've actually talked to the guy on Twitter a bit, and he's an asshole. He's just not a good guy, you know, in my opinion. And that made it where I was just like, yeah, I'm not buying this guy's game. He can F himself, you know. He's one of these guys that copied. All he did is literally just copy Warhammer 2nd Edition, make it a little bit more suitable for modern audiences, and then he acts like he's some kind of better than everyone else. I'm a game designer, etc. Blah blah blah. And it's like, not really. I mean, you just stole Chris Pramus's entire game, and then declared yourself,
The only
whatever.
game I've ever backed on the backer kit is Heroic.
So yeah, he is just like, my dislike for him is purely personal. It has nothing to do with politics, religion, anything else.
No, I
It
take
is
that back.
just that, sometimes even on Twitter, and even as good natured as I try to be on Twitter, sometimes you just run into people and you realize that you really don't like them.
I backed Heroic and I wanted to back one of Vengeance Satanis's games, but it didn't meet its backing. Those are the only two games I've ever backed.
Oh man, I've backed a couple games.
You back everything that comes across your internet.
That is
The only
not
thing
true.
I backed was the deck of curses.
And you'll go to HE double hockey sticks for saying
Okay,
lies.
you back most of the things that come across your internet.
Nope, I'm very, very particular with what I back.
Again,
Like,
Vic's, I've only backed what Vic made. Well, that's about it.
If it's free league, I'll back it.
I did back one of Vic's games.
I just really wanted the
backed
deck.
Heroic.
Oh wow, Bear, you might want to fix that.
Yeah, he's being the robot again.
Yeah.
That was
I
kind of
wonder-
cool, though.
I wonder if, yeah, I guess if not a little bit piercing.
Oh, there he goes.
I wonder if his
poor
mic
Bear.
or something's going out.
Bear's just not having a good computer today.
Yeah,
That's all that's going on with Bear. His computer is just like
I think
really
it says he's
abusing.
back again.
He's back again.
Yeah.
Hey,
I
James,
feel
I got a
bad
picture
because
of the
I
character.
want him to hang, but his computer is being just.
Hey, James,
Hey, Coco. Hey, squirrel. Squirrel.
I got the
Yeah,
picture
my
of what
computer is not working properly. It's something to do with the USB hub or something. It keeps failing, which turns off my camera, my mic, disconnects everything, and then it restarts. So I'm just going to go. As much fun as it would be to hang out with you guys tonight, this is pissing me off to the point where I'm
Yeah,
like,
Sorry to hear
I
that.
get it, and you
Yeah.
will be missed for real.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to,
if it
good to see
counts
you, Bear.
anything, James, I was streaming earlier watching. I cracked the nut that I need to crack for Valorous, so that's going to be great.
Awesome.
Well, I actually was watching your stream before you had to have Doc end it for you because your shit started freaking out.
Yeah, it's fucked up. I don't know what's going on. I
You
gotta
know,
call
I was
Apple
sitting there.
tech support.
All right, bro. We'll catch you when we can.
Hey,
It was-
All right,
I
later,
hope you have
guys.
a better time with
Later.
your computer.
Good to see you, Bear.
It's good to see you too, Haas. Be good.
And then he took credit for taking down the Trove, which was bullshit. And it wasn't even about, oh, look, this guy up here's got Jonah Hex. And it was, you know what? What's crazy is it wasn't like anyone on the Trove was downloading Zweihander. They were downloading Warhammer 2nd Edition. So he wanted to put an end to that shit. So he thought they'd be forced to buy Zweihander if they wanted to play Warhammer 2nd Edition.
To be
Freaking
fair,
idiot.
Jonah Hex would be what I want to play for Deadlands.
Yeah, that would be a Revenant. And yes, they are playable, but like if you draw both Jokers during character creation or some shit. But I mean, you're not going to be super well liked or anything because I mean,
No, but
you're literally dead. But you know, it is what it is. But yeah, I'm just telling you, when I used to be like one of those perpetually online guys that was always on Twitter, yeah, I dealt with that guy, and it did not take me long to realize that I really, really disliked him.
although again,
Like
I'd probably
on a
just make
visceral
him.
level, you know.
I'd probably
Like-
just make a human with a disfigured face if I was doing that.
Like I might dislike Chris Pramus because he's a communist prat, and him and I have gotten into it a couple times. But that wouldn't stop me from buying Pendragon or something like that if I really wanted to buy it.
Yeah.
But yeah, some people they offend me to the point where I'm like, yeah, I'm just offended by you, you know, and therefore I want nothing to do with you at all. I want nothing but bad stuff to happen to you and only you. What was that, Dave Chappelle? The player haters.
I hate you and you. I really
And
hate you.
especially you.
Yeah. Now I gotta get home so I can water whatever the other pimp's name was, mom. Like, oh my God.
I can't go out with you tonight. I got to walk my goldfish.
Yeah. But
yeah, James, if I was to make a Jonah Hex like character, I probably in Deadlands I probably wouldn't make him a revenant. I'd just probably make him a human with like a disfigured face.
which is also something you could do. You could make the guy alive, except, you know, during the war, half of his face got blown off or something.
Yeah.
And then it just healed back not quite right. And that would be perfectly acceptable, you know? You might even be able to take the flaw like really ugly or something, which might give you some extra points to spend on skills and stuff.
Just
So
dueling
in
just
that
look
way,
like,
you could actually make how you want to roleplay your character useful, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, did you see
Here.
Windrunner's not going to be at game this Sunday?
Why?
His father is driving down from Virginia.
Oh, yeah. He said something about that like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know, if you, I'll break my rule for father driving down from another state. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's because my usual hard ass rule about people showing up. I mean, you know, come on.
I will be at the game this weekend. My old lady's going to be in town, but she'll probably go back to work Sunday evening.
Well, I mean, it's not as if she can't just entertain herself for a little while.
Yeah. But she's only coming home for the weekend.
Okay, so
She
yeah,
needs to get out that street and make me my money.
Yeah. Tell her she's your bottom bitch.
She is.
But only South Park fans will get that reference, really.
I would have thought about the a pimp named Slapback.
Yeah, in South Park, Bubbles somehow accidentally becomes a pimp. And he becomes
know what I am
successful
saying?
at being a pimp that he gets invited to like the players' ball.
Do you know what I am saying?
Yeah, and like all the pimps, when they're talking to him and giving him advice about being a pimp, they end every sentence with, "You know what I'm saying?" And Butters is all like, "Yes, I do believe I know what you are saying." You know? And so he learns how to be a pimp, and then he goes back to South Park and really starts, you know.
Stan threatened to kick his ass, and Butters is like, "Kyle, here's $50. Kick Stan's ass."
Yeah. Yeah. He was just like, and it all started with a little thing where the girls were actually doing a thing where if you paid them $1 or something, they would give you a kiss. Or maybe Butters came up with that. Somebody come up with the idea, and somehow Butters got involved.
And he ended up having like 40-year-old hookers.
And then the next thing you know, he's got full-grown females that are hooking for him.
He's got a whole stable.
Yeah, and like, you know, all this crazy shit. But you know, all the craziest shit in South Park always happens to Butters.
Like when he got the hold of the Lord of the Rings video.
Yeah,
but,
he become like addicted to porn.
yeah.
Or when the vampire kids made him drink Clamato, so he actually thought he was a vampire.
Nice, Daryl.
Red forehead and white raccoon eyes. Hey, Daryl. I mean, it's our people, bro. Every now and then we just got to get out there and really burn the shit out of the back of our neck. You know what I'm saying? It's just the way it is. So sounds. I mean, honestly, everything you just described sounds like a good time to me. If my pops were to come down here out of the blue and be like, "Hey, we're going to, some kind of auction for some shit," I'd be like, "Awesome." You know what I mean?
Let's go.
One thing
Except
I want to do.
Hungar and I already know what my pops would be wanting to go to an auction.
Yeah, I kind of miss going to like those big
Trains.
flea markets.
Guns.
Trains and guns.
He don't even do trains anymore. Now it's just guns.
Guns.
Guns. Yep.
Bad.
He's like,
Princess of the Night. Come on.
let's go to the gun. Here in Florida, we got this giant arena that was made for rodeo called Silver Spurs. And they have like these gun things there. And it's like a gun Disney World.
Gun show.
You pay
Gun show.
money, you get in, and there's just like dealers, people from actual gun stores, old veterans trying to sell their whatevers, and unlike what the left will tell you about the guns or the gun show loophole, no, it don't exist.
No.
It don't matter who you buy the firearm from. You're going to get your freaking.
If you're buying from an FFL, private sales are still legal, but even then.
But it's not considered a private sale if it's at the gun show.
If it's at the gun show, you have to have a permit to sell your guns there.
Yeah.
And you got to do all the paperwork you got to do anywhere else you buy a gun.
I mean, I guess if you really want to be shady, you could be like, "Hey, dude, I really want that gun, so sit aside and don't sell it, and I'll meet you. Here's my number." And that technically would actually be legal, but it doesn't happen. I mean, you go to gun shows, somebody's selling an old K98 for $150. They check your freaking criminal record out. 10 minutes later, you give them money, take the rifle. I mean, and in Florida, I think they took away the 1 week waiting list for pistols.
Yeah, now that they got constitutional concealed carry.
Yeah, now that everyone in the state is considered to have their concealed carry thing, you don't got to wait a week to get a pistol. So you can literally just go to a store, get your background check, and, unless you're like a really bad guy, when you pass your background check, pay for your freaking Glock and go home. I mean, pole dancers with guns. Oh, like in that one movie where the one chick has like an M16. Actually, it's a 203 because it's got the grenade launcher on it. Actually, and it's like connected to her leg.
Man, I'm 3 weeks away from getting my new gun.
You need to save up.
That's what I'm
get
doing.
The gun I told you to get.
Well, I've already
Take
put
all your
this on-
money. Get that Scar S1. You'll
I
send
can't.
me a Christmas card. Tell me I'm your best friend.
I mean, I really wish I did get the Scar, but it's
The
not
only
going to
thing
happen
I
now.
could steer you towards better than a Scar S1 would be Jesus Christ himself. Like if I were to be like, dude, believe in Jesus, and then you did, that would be even better. But the Scar is pretty close. Tell me.
Look, I wish I did get a Scar. That is one of my bigger regrets. I could have gotten one, but didn't.
Yeah, I could get one, but then I would have a Scar and no wife.
But I can get you a Scar and she can't say nothing.
That's true, but I will probably die holding my breath before that happens.
You never know. I could just wake up one morning and be like, yeah, I'm buying my brother's Scar.
Yeah, I do know. But anyway, I appreciate the thought, bro.
Hey, if you're just going to talk smack about me, I'm going to go back to bed.
I am going to talk smack about you, but I'm also going to talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Hey, Hoss, isn't it a brother's job to talk smack about you?
Yeah, right? I mean,
Well, he's damn good at his job.
What?
I said, you're damn good at your job, then.
I take my job seriously. That's all I'm saying. You two talk amongst yourself while I go grab my glass. Because apparently I
gotta
sat
say,
down and did not bring my drink in, and that is no good.
no bueno.
It's the damn wait for suppressors. Yeah, that's going through the courts. We'll see suppressors
Yeah,
and SDRs.
I want both of those.
Yeah,
If we get
neither one of them
SBRs,
is illegal.
if we get SBRs, I'm SBRing my P90. Well, PS90. And if we get suppressors, I might even put a suppressor on that thing. Yeah, Hungar, you think you have it bad? My brother and one of his friends actually went and tried to scare me one night because they're jerks. Well, they were jerks back then.
Cool story, bro.
Could you tell it again?
So, Hungar,
Yeah.
check this out.
Nice.
You know what it is?
No.
No? What if it rotated in all the directions?
Isn't that a Stargate?
No,
Kind
that's a gravity
of.
well.
You remember Event Horizon?
Yeah.
The gravity drive?
Yeah, that was so long ago I watched that.
Dude, it's on the freaking streaming channels. Watch it tonight.
No, it's too scary.
It's too scary. Yeah. Well, when you come down here, I'll sit up and watch it. And if you get afraid, I'll hold your hand.
I'm always afraid. I don't want to shoot your TV.
So it doesn't frighten me at all.
The first time you watched it, it did.
A little bit. But now I'm like, that's just pretty cool, man. It's Warhammer 20K. You know what I mean?
Also,
I have a 30K question for you.
Okay.
Okay, since 30K is before Sanguinius dies,
Yes.
Blood Angels don't have to worry about Black Rage, do they?
No.
Black Rage?
But Sanguinius actually dies during the Horus Heresy. Horus kills him, remember?
Yes, I know that.
And then it's the death of Sanguinius that drives the
The
Blood Angels nuts.
and, yeah,
However, their thirst for blood was always a thing.
yeah,
That has nothing to do with Sanguinius or whatever. That's just
yeah, but the death of Sanguinius does cause them crazy, cause them to go crazy, and go into the rage.
Well, when they start going crazy, what they do is they start thinking they are Sanguinius.
They start seeing Sanguinius' last fight against Horus.
Yeah, they think they're him.
Yeah.
And then that causes some major issues. But when Sanguinius was alive, I forget which other Primarch it was that found out about the gene flaw with the Blood Angels. But out of respect, he kept it to himself.
I think it was actually Robot Ghillie Suit.
Yeah, it was either Gillyman or Fulgrim.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you got to remember during that time, you know, Fulgrim was like the straight up Sanguinius fanboy.
Everybody was Sanguinius' fanboy.
Yeah, but I mean, Fulgrim was really like on that angelic penis. You know what I'm saying? And everybody was not. Lionel Johnson literally did not like anybody.
But he did respect Sanguinius.
Well, of course he did, because Sanguinius could whip his ass, and that's
Yeah,
the only thing. That's how he judged everything in life.
That's the only reason he respected only Sanguinius.
Yeah, because of all when they did their big duel, the only one that could beat Lionel Johnson was Sanguinius.
Well, Lion's got that autism power.
Yeah, he is powered by freaking autistic strength. He is definitely not one to mess with. And also, I don't know if it was on purpose or not, but when Horus was made the War Master, Lionel Johnson was the one that stepped up and was like, "Are you fucking kidding? This bald bitch," you know? But then Sanguinius calmed him down. So, you know, mistakes were made.
Yeah.
Because, you know.
Horus was ready to snatch his bald ass up. Or not Horus, Lion.
Yeah, Lion wasn't having it. You know what I mean? And then I mean, there was a lot of politics. There always is. But honestly, the only books worth reading are like the first four.
No, I
Up to
disagree.
Eisenstein.
No,
After that, it's like,
the Legion book, Alpha Marine book is really good.
that's because you've always liked the Alpha Marines, and I really think they're a bunch of dicks.
No, it's just a really good book.
It's like this group of aliens that are trying to convince humanity to basically go extinct so that they can live. It's like, no, no, fuck you guys. You know? Plus, how do you know those aliens, the compact or whatever they're called, aren't lying? I mean, ultimately, the thing the Alpha Marines are effed up about, and John Grammaticus, is when you look at it, they are trusting Xenos. What is the one thing you're never supposed to do?
Trust Xenos.
Trust a freaking Xenos.
Never
So right
trust
off the
Xenos.
bat, they're just wrong. You
They're
know,
all liars.
they're going to trust Xenos over the Emperor of Mankind.
No, they weren't trust the Xenos. The one guy, John Grammaticus, is trying to get them to trust the Xenos. But, the Alpha Marines, they're weird because they show up, they help the people that they're supposed to kill, and then they kill the people that they're supposed to help, and then they help rebuild the city so they can burn that down just to get captured and take it up onto the main warship of the Imperial Guard to blow the Imperial Guard ship up.
Yeah,
Why?
they're assholes.
Because that's what they do. They don't, I don't know.
Because they made a deal with those aliens that they were supposed to help Horus win the war, and it didn't happen. So now they're just out there being idiots. Because the aliens tried to convince Alfarius and Omegon that if the Emperor won the war, humanity would die. If Horus won the war, humanity would die. But if Horus won the war when the humans died, the rest of the universe would at least live. But if the Emperor won, the whole universe would be destroyed. And it's like, no, F you guys.
Yeah, but I think Alfarius and Omegon ended up killing. No, they didn't kill him, but they did tell him to kick rocks.
Well, one of them got killed by the Rabo Gilliman.
Allegedly.
Except no one knows which one.
And no one knows who they actually are because they all say that they're Alfarius.
Well, yeah, because they all say they're Alfarius.
And they all pretty much look alike.
Yep, that is kind of their thing, ain't it? Sipping on straight chlorine. Wash over me. Your love is a chemical. Your love is a chemical.
Yeah, but somebody spelled my car radio and now I just sat in silence.
Yeah. Painting up a couple of guys. Don't know what I'll use them for, but we'll see. Just a couple of...
Just a guy.
Just some guys. That guy right there, he was a starship engineer, actually. Before he decided to pursue a different career path.
I think I'm going to pursue sleep.
Get out of here. You got to hang out.
I'm hanging out with you, but
you.
I'm going to sleep here in a minute.
If you go to sleep here in a minute, you won't be hanging out
after
with
9 o'clock and I'm tired.
Oh yeah,
bro. I've
you're
been
an hour
missing
off.
you.
I miss you too.
But all right. I mean, I'm not going to try and force you to stay.
Yesterday,
but...
we were rocking the show. Baby oil is the way to go.
I'm just saying. You had me worried being in the hospital.
So they sent the Marines to California.
Yep.
Well, they were already there, actually.
Yeah, but they told them get on the streets in LA.
Yeah, and everybody's mad about it, and yet the riots are pretty much over.
I'm not mad about it.
Yeah, it turns out when you send like people in and you tell the idiots, hey, you keep spitting on cops and shit, you're just going to prison for, decades. Most people calm the F down.
That poor
They're like,
Australian reporter, she was standing there reporting, ended up getting hit in the leg by a rubber bullet.
hey,
It was hilarious. I laughed.
You know how many reporters died in Vietnam?
Most of them.
Lots of them. So I have no sympathy.
Me neither. I thought it was.
She knew where she was, and she knew
I
what
thought it
was
was
going
funny.
on. Right? And I mean, and I say that with actual respect for reporters. I mean, they're willing to go into these crazy places, trying to show what's going on. But the risk is there, man. The risk is there, and it's real too. So these assholes on TV. Trump says freedom only belongs to the people who agree with him. It's like,
look, they were mostly peaceful. I mean, is it illegal to sit around watching a car on fire?
yeah, they're mostly
I like my
peaceful.
ice. I like my drinks like I like my streets, full of ice.
Yeah, right. They're just bad people.
Even Fox News was
They
trying to
can't
say
help
that
it.
it was mostly peaceful.
Well, it was the Fox News affiliate in California.
Well, when shit's burning, it's not peaceful anymore.
Yeah, I mean, when buildings are being looted and stuff, it is no longer peaceful. It's really weird. It's like today was a mostly peaceful day if you don't count, the battle that happened, a mile over.
The 47 businesses burnt down.
Since only like 3 platoons were involved in the firefight, but the rest of the battalion wasn't, we're going to call today
Today was a peaceful day at war.
Yeah, it's like, get out of here. But the good thing is, I think, and maybe I'm just overly optimistic again, but I think a lot of people are starting to catch on to the bullshit.
No.
The whole peaceful this and that. I think a lot of people are starting to look at it and be like, there's nothing peaceful about this. I mean, they're burning cars down. Yeah, and hopefully the government, I'll tell you what, I'll quote Asmongold. I would not be sad at all if the people being violent and throwing bricks and shit, if the National Guard or the cops there didn't just shoot them. Legally, they could. The thing is, the cops have been way nice to the protesters and let them just get away
Cops
with
been
whatever,
hampered.
right?
They're being controlled by, the mayor.
Right. But like in the real world, if you throw a brick at a cop, that is considered attempted murder.
Because it is. It practically
and
is
the cop
attempted
could
murder.
absolutely.
A brick is a very dangerous weapon.
Right. And a cop could absolutely gun your ass right down for that. So I don't know if you guys heard this shit, but apparently a lot of these protests are being financed by one of the Walmart heiresses.
Yep. I heard China's pulling some strings too.
Wouldn't be surprising.
Yeah, they caught like a black bus, like a black van pull up to a protest and start handing out masks.
There's also a guy driving down the street. There's a bunch of paper on the street in the middle of the night, and he stopped, picked one up, and it said, "How to riot without going to jail."
Now, how much? How many rioters were there? About 1,200. About 2 van loads of Mexicans.
Also, if I were the benign dictator of the United States, I would tell the snipers that are there, anyone you see waving a foreign flag, just go ahead and take that guy out.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Fire at will. If they're running around the street waving the flag of another nation and rioting and ripping shit up,
that's what I don't understand. If they want us right to stay here,
them as if they are enemy.
If they want a right to stay here so bad, why the hell are they waving a foreign flag?
Yeah, it's like They're rioting because they don't want to go home to the place of the flag that they're waving. And then somebody earlier said the president of Mexico or some shit talked some shit. So for fun, we were looking up the Mexican
Yeah.
army, and it's like they don't actually have
No,
anything.
they have a few Humvees. That's about it. That's their latest.
Yeah, it's like they got some Humvees and a couple of old trainer
Yeah.
jets and like a destroyer from World War II. It's like, really? You're going to move your troops close to the border to protect Mexican citizens? How about those Mexican citizens get the fuck out of LA? You know, it's like, not hard, easy. And like I keep saying, we've already conquered Mexico at least 2 times, maybe
I
3.
think it was around 3.
So how many times do they want us to whip their ass just to come home and laugh at them?
You know, if you live by a
I mean,
superpower,
Mexico ain't like Canada. There's not a lot of mountains and snow to hide in Mexico.
you know, if you live by a superpower, it might not be the best idea to try to piss them off.
Yeah, to instigate it. Talk about poking the freaking bear, right? And it just annoys me because it's all so pointless. Like the people rioting, they're not going to get anything done.
I saw a video where the LAPD encircled about 200 of the bastards and just told them all that they were under arrest. So they all started crying and carrying on. You can hear them on their cell phones. They're going to arrest us now, but we're mostly peaceful.
Yeah, that mostly peaceful shit needs to go right out the window.
Yeah.
There is no mostly peaceful. If you're there in a group and any person in the group starts burning shit down, you are a accomplice.
Throw
to
bricks
crime.
and shit. Yeah. Yeah. They're dropping
Yeah,
off
you're an
pallets
accomplice
of
to
cinder
crime.
blocks all over different places. With stairs
Yeah,
showing up.
magically appearing pallets of bricks, just like the Summer of Love. It's almost as if there's a group of scumbags behind the scenes making all this shit happen, and that all of the actual rioting is theater. The people out there supposedly rioting, they're not actually rioting. They're being paid to do it. Now, there might be some actual zealots amongst them, but a lot of them are just paid, assholes. And, in my opinion, they should be dealt with in the harshest of ways.
I agree with you.
As a matter of fact, the people who are calling this mostly peaceful are the same people that demanded the J6ers get locked up for life with no trial or, complete suspension of habeas corpus and all this shit. But meanwhile, these idiots are rioting against. And the thing they're like, it would have been peaceful if Trump hadn't done what he done, sent ICE in. And it's like, so what you're saying is there wouldn't have been a riot if the cops had not done their jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not the way that.
What was funny was in one area, they were doing a drug bust on a trap house, and a bunch of people thought it was ICE raiding. So they tried to interfere with the cops and the DEA doing the drug bust. It didn't work out well for them.
Well, there was that idiot on Twitter that was doxing ICE.
Yeah.
And they caught him, of course. And he deleted the thing, and he basically threw himself on the mercy of the courts.
Courts have no mercy.
Except he's not going in front of a California judge. He's going in front of a federal judge. So he's looking at 5 to 10 years.
Yep.
And that'll be good for him because he is a soft, pasty-looking piece of shit. So when he gets into prison,
he's going to have what he wants. A strong culture that's diverse and with a large gay population.
Exactly.
Free food, free medical, diverse culture, full of homos.
Everyone's favorite retard, Hassan Piker, was out there at the riot.
I don't even know who he is, and I don't even want to.
except he was pretending to be a journalist. So he was saying he was just there to be a journalist, but
He talked about how a lot of people in the rioters were his fans.
Yeah.
Probably not the best thing to
yeah,
say.
he did say that. He did say that a lot of the rioters were his
All
people.
right, guys. Well, I'm gonna go to sleep.
See ya, Hunger.
Well, damn you.
I love you, brother.
See ya. Yeah.
I'm trying. I'm following the sleep set here.
Well, I mean, okay. I catch
See
it.
you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh,
But yeah, I mean, it's like crazy. Sipping on wine. Cartel members in the army and police forces, and theirs or ours, because either way they need to be rooted out. Like if there's cartel members in our military, they need to be immediately rooted out. You know, so. But yeah, things are different this time around. It's not like last time around. This time around, people are like, fuck them, you know? Like last time around, there was a lot more sympathy. This time around, yeah, there's no sympathy. People are like, GTFO with all that bullshit, you know? Ain't nobody got time for all that. You know, we got taxes to pay, you know, babies to feed, whatever our issues are. We ain't got time for all your shit. Sorry. So just go on with yourself. At least that's my thought. I could be wrong. Sipping on pure chlorine. I'm clipping out the bits parts from the Dungeons and Lasers sci-fi kit. It's got like some cool monitors and stuff like that. Vents that you can like plug into the wall section.
back.
So that I like that. I like that. Okay. I like the vents that you can plug into the walls because if I run the game the way I want to run it, every time the players are in a room or something that has a vent, I'm going to make a roll to see if a leaper or a creeper doesn't come jumping out of it. You know what I mean?
Oh no, venting.
So, Fools Grow. I agree. I agree with you, Thul. But so basically, I'm taking Traveler 2300 and turning it into
Into a horror game.
a horror
That
game.
works. You
Yeah.
could probably make it one.
And the ship they're going to be exploring is a good 3/4 of a kilometer long. And between the fact that it has in the back a gravity drive and somewhere in the ship it's going to have one of these too.
Oh, that looks not good.
And you know, the crew have all vanished and the players are being sent by Ares Tech, which is a Earth arms manufacturer, and they're a megacorp. They also finance colonies and research and stuff. See, Thul, that's something that you know the internal investigation should seriously be looking at, or the FBI. But so I'm basically doing the thing where they get hired to go to find the ship, which is called the Far Horizon, which was out on a mission to find, another colony, and it had a special setup in the engine so that it could go beyond the 7 light-year stutter warp range, and they're going to be let borrow a surplus frigate, and if they need any additional crew, they'll get their crew, and the whole deal is going to be to have to do a bunch of crazy shit to get to the Far Horizon and then board it. And the other thing that's going to make it difficult on the players, well, some of them for sure, is that the majority of the ship will be 0G. Unless they manage to get the power online and get the spin habitats working, they are going to literally be floating around in 0G. And that means, the guys that have their surplus M299 assault rifles and stuff like that, like if you're floating around in 0G and you just rip a burst out of a 9x4 whatever 41 assault rifle, I hope you got your magnetic boots on and you're freaking braced, because otherwise it's going to sling you across the room and possibly into something very hard that could cause you a little bit of discomfort. And then in addition to all of that, also there'll be no life support in the ship. And before anyone says, well, how can there be monsters if there's no life support? These creatures do not need to breathe. And yes, I am copying 100% from Dead Space and also Event Horizon. I am just blatantly ripping both of those IPs off, and I'm doing it shamelessly. Absolutely without shame. And that's basically the thing. It's like, yeah, they're going to go into this dark ship that's all effed up.
Huh.
So depending on the engineering section, try and get the power back on. The spin habitats on ship, they got grabbed, and then there's a chance that a leaper will come jumping out of every is.
James?
They'll have to deal with
I think you're cutting out a bit.
It doesn't say so yet.
Huh. Your picture got worse, and you've been freezing up a little bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we got a storm rolling in, which is normal for Florida.
Yeah, fair.
But yeah, I think they'll have a lot of fun, and I'm not making it a killer dungeon type of situation. I mean, they can actually 100% survive it. Just it depends on the choices they make and the way the die roll, But yeah, they're going to have to deal with certain things like, holy shit, if I don't take time to brace myself really good with my magnetic boots, then I'm not going to be firing this big freaking rifle, or even a big revolver or something. Though I think a couple of the guys spent money and bought laser weapons. They'll be fine because laser weapons
don't have recoil.
Yeah, there's no recoil to that. So that's fine, but
that would make it an interesting thing, because it would be a boon and a bane using your weapon then. Because you would kind of lock yourself down to an area to shoot. So you wouldn't be able to run.
Exactly. Instead of being able to run and gun like you normally would want to, you're going to have to use your movement action to brace.
Yeah.
And the fact that the creatures we're fighting don't have ranged attack. Well, most of them don't have any ranged attack, but they are fast. So it's going to be like,
Would you rather run or would you rather shoot?
make up your mind here what's getting ready to happen. If the players play it smart and like half of the group provides covering fire while the other half withdraws or advances, depending, and they do like a bounding or, advance, like they taught us in the Army, then they'll be fine.
Yeah.
But if they go nuts, then they won't be fine. And the thing with Traveler 2300 is you do have a sanity stat. Except it don't work like in Call of Cthulhu where you lose sanity. You just have to make sanity checks, And so certain things can drive you nuts. One of them is staring into the no, in 2300 you don't go through warp space. You actually just trick the universe into thinking that you're not moving faster than the speed of light. Yes, Cal. Yes. Dungeons and Lasers, I paid $50 for the sci-fi starter kit, and I am absolutely amazed at all the stuff that came in it. It's like I mean, what a bargain. You know what I'm saying? It is just, there's a lot of great stuff in here.
I'd
And
buy that for $1.
I buy that for $1. Yeah, there's a lot of great stuff in here. And really, for the price, for hard plastic, super detailed is cheap. It's actually cheap. I mean, or maybe I just think it's cheap because I'm so used to buying 40K stuff. So, I mean, for more than the price I just described, you could actually buy yourself a 5-man squad of heavy intercessors for $12 a piece, because the 5-man box of heavy intercessors was $60 before tax. So for the price of those 5 guys to put in your stupid army that you didn't actually even need, they were just neat. Yeah, I'm bitter about those 5 guys. You get just a shit ton of plastic. It's really not comparable. And Games Workshop should be embarrassed. But the good news is War Games Atlantic and Lasers and Dragons and whatever, they're starting to get so much better with the sculpts and shit that if Games Workshop does not watch itself, they will cease to exist. And I know that's been said before, and some of you might even right now be rolling your eyes and being like, yeah, we've all heard that before. But I'm serious, because not a freaking fortnight goes by that Games Workshop isn't raising prices on shit. And I'm sorry to say, they priced me out of the game, and I've been playing the game since '96. But now I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't pay $100 for a tank for an army where I need to have 10 of them. I refuse to pay $1,000 for a part of an army. So what did I do? I gathered up all of my tanks and stuff and put them in a box, and I sold them for $500. And the guy who bought them was super happy. So good for him, But yeah, I'm done. Now I did keep all of my 30K tanks. I didn't get rid of any of my old school rhinos. I didn't get rid of any of the Sicarans and stuff like that. But all of my Lehman Russ and repulsor tanks and all that shit, fucking gone.
James, there's something I wish I did when it was very cheap.
What's that?
I bought a few GameCubes.
Cool.
You know why?
I have no idea why.
If you have like 4 GameCubes, and like 16 controllers, you could actually play Mario Kart LAN.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, 16-man Mario Kart.
Ah, that would be fun.
Yeah.
Getting that turtle shell and blasting whoever's in the lead. That's the best feeling in the world. The blue
Yeah.
turtle or whatever. Yeah. Somebody thinks that they're going to win, and all of a sudden you drop that turtle on them, and it's like, take your bitch ass home.
I used to be pretty good at Mario Kart. Well, for my family at least.
Yeah. Yeah, Mario Kart was one of those games, and I know we kind of got off topic a little bit, but Mario Kart really was one of those games that was really simple.
Yep.
But at the same time, hilarious to play.
Yeah, and you know what? There was a time where you could literally buy GameCubes for like $25 a pop.
Well, it's just it's kind of a shame that game companies forgot to make good games like that. You know,
Yeah.
like somehow they forgot that hey, the game doesn't have to be
Look.
like super lifelike graphics with this really in-depth whatever if you just make it fun.
Yeah.
And a
I
couple
know.
of games have came out that have managed to be like that, but
Yeah.
a lot
You'll
of
usually more see it in the indie titles more than anything.
exactly that's where you see it, the indie titles.
I
Where
mean, you'll get something like Pow World sometimes.
yeah, yeah, I agree. You might get Power World, you might get Ark, you might get
Or
Vanheim, you might get
or
well,
Vintage Story. James, I would recommend Vintage Story. It's like I can't say it's like Minecraft. It's voxel based like Minecraft, but it's much more fun and very hardcore. Crafting
yeah,
system on that is a lot more difficult.
but we both get what we're saying here.
Yeah.
That it's like these AAA games they keep talking about that they want to sell for $100, and it's like I can't really think of one that's came out lately that
You
I
what?
even like. You
No.
know,
No.
it's like they all kind of suck. I don't care. And then MMOs, like back in the day that I used to play so much, they're just dead.
I mean, literally the newest game I actually liked and bought was literally a remaster of an old game.
Arcade?
No, it was Command and Conquer.
Ah,
They
yeah,
remastered
because
the
the last
original.
MMO I played was Arcade, and that was just an import from freaking Korea,
Yep.
and had been out in Korea for like 7 years or some shit.
Yep.
So it's like,
I don't even know what's happening with it anymore. Last time I heard they were making Arcade 2, which okay, whatever, don't care.
yeah, it's like okay, whatever. There was that period though between when EQ launched and WoW, where like a lot of people were playing um, MMOs, and then
Yep.
something happened, and MMOs just died. People got
Yeah,
to where they're like, "Yeah, I'm not playing that shit."
I know. Don't even see hype for MMOs anymore.
Nah, yeah, it's like no one cares about MMOs at all. It's like you can be like, "Hey, man, you want to play an MMO?" and people are like, "No."
No, it's more about the multiplayer where you can play with your buddies, I think, anymore.
Yep,
Like, I mean, heck, one of my favorite things was just getting on, like, Pow World with my friends and playing it.
yep. And for me, it was when I had my private Arc server and inviting my brother just to come on, and so he and I could just run around together.
Actually, that's what me and my cousins did, too. We kind of just had our own little private server, which was like an old computer that my cousin had.
Yep. And just run around and hunt dinosaurs and do whatever the hell we're gonna do. And that was the best, because like I used to own a Conan server, and there was like five of us on it. You would log on, and sometimes you would find Justin on, or you would find, I think Squirrel Hermit logged on sometimes. Of course, Haas, Hungar, and me, and another guy I actually game with, at the table. He would log on, and so it would be cool. You could log on, and I mean, that's the game though that I told you that got Hungar in trouble though.
What?
Conan.
Ark? Okay, Conan.
Yeah, because he made his character as black as he could, and he gave him the biggest wang that you can. And then he would sneak into people's house and like hang from a beam on the ceiling and just hang there. So then you would walk into your house and there would be a giant guy from the southern kingdoms with like, a foot long of schmeat freaking just hanging off a ceiling in front of you.
So just a
And
huge
it got to
bong.
be such a thing that I actually called mom and was like, Mom,
You
seriously,
gotta do something about him.
we need to have a talk because this guy is out of control over here. You know what I'm saying? So mom actually called him and was like, stop doing that. It's weird. And he's like, okay, mom. Because, that's how he is. He's like, okay, mom. But yeah, fucking weirdo, man. Like, God. It's like,
Needed to come down a little bit.
it's like you make me regret making the server full nudity.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm all like, I don't think I should have done that.
Maybe
And
not
the
the
good news
best
was,
idea.
though, you could capture really big boob slave girls,
Yeah,
dress them up in these really scanty bikinis, and have
yeah.
them.
I remember Conan.
Yeah, so that was cool.
Yeah.
A little slavery, whatever. It's like, welcome to the wheel of pain. I'll be back in a day. But that's one good thing about Conan is it literally
It was
did
fun.
all the shit and they did not care.
No.
It was like if somebody were to yell at them over like, the boobs and shit, they were all like, yeah, whatever.
It's Conan. What do you want?
Yeah, it's just like, sorry that you feel that way, but this is Conan. And in Conan, this is the shit that happens. So perhaps another game would be more up your alley, And it's like, okay, all right. They were pretty much that was what it was, But I just kind of got bored with it after I pretty much killed everything and beat.
Yeah, it
pretty
does
much
get boring.
everything and built a big house and then
I had a pretty big
destroyed
run in
my
that
house and moved it to build another house because I'm a builder. I mean, honestly,
I like building things too, but I'm not as good at it. I'm not very good at building things.
yeah. And honestly, you can only build so much. And then you're just like, like I feel like I've done this 50 times already. So, yeah. 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 My wife woke up, so here in a minute, it might be time for me to go in there and harass her.
Ah. Well, James, I also got some
I
bad
just heard her
news.
say, no. You
I've
just got what, homie?
some bad news about my game.
They're not ending it, are they?
Postponed indefinitely.
Aw. Why?
One of the players can't make it anymore, and that's a one out of 3.
You know what you do?
Eh,
Tell the DM to look up, hey, what's up, Shark? Tell your DM to look into Blade Runner.
Why Blade Runner?
Because Blade Runner plays best with 2 players.
Hmm.
I mean, think about it. You're never going to play a game of Blade Runner with like 8 Blade Runners. That's just insane. That's just not, a
Fair,
thing.
but I'd say most games you could technically play with like 2 to more players.
Most games you technically could, but Blade Runner,
It's
no more
specifically
than
made
3
for that.
players, not counting whoever's running the game.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, think about the movie. 90% of the movie was just Deckard. So that really, the original movie, well, no, later they added Rachel. So the original movie kind of started off like a solo adventure, but then a second character was added against the group of bad guys, right?
Yeah.
So if you're having problems with this GM getting more than 2 or 3 players, there are a couple of games that are just right up the alley for another one, believe it or not, that would work great with a smaller number of players is Call of Cthulhu.
True.
Because it's like, okay, you're a professor and this other guy might be a professor, and the 2 of you are out trying to figure shit out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, that makes perfect sense. And if you've ever read Cthulhu stories, other than Rats in the Wall, where there was like 6 of them, and maybe at the Mountains of Madness, most of them involve 1 or 2 people trying to figure something out.
But James, if he tried that, I'd probably just try to convince the other guy to be a plumber, and we be the Mario Brothers.
I mean, you can be a plumber. I've got the book.
I know.
You can be.
I know. We're playing 2 Italian plumbers. It's like, what?
Well, I mean, depending on how realistic he wants to make it, you're probably going to get looked down on by a lot of the New England blue bloods.
And it just happens that every time we're called to a place, it's haunted somehow.
Yeah. Well, that's like, have you ever seen the movie The House? They hire the repairman, and it's the guy that was on Cheers, and he ends up showing up and opening his like tool case, and he's looking around and he pulls out a katana, and he's like, I thought it was something like this, and they're just looking at him like what in the, this guy just shows up out of nowhere to help us, and now he's got a freaking katana. He's getting ready to fight demons or something. But yeah, there's a lot of games that, I mean, D&D can even be played with a small group. There's Shark. Yeah, if you only got 2 people in a D&D type game, the answer is always henchmen and hirelings.
True. If anything, he's thinking right now of just doing a one-shot because every time we try to start up a new game, somebody it always people have to drop and stuff.
Well, I mean that's a big problem. I mean, because everyone's just busy. Today. I mean, it's not like when we could blow off a whole freaking Saturday or Friday because we were in school and whatever.
Yeah, maybe I'm thinking about this weird. Maybe you could continue it.
Yeah, you could definitely. Shark's 100% right. You could just hire a bunch of henchmen to carry your gear around and guard your camp, and or hirelings, whichever. I always get the name of the 2 mixed up, even though I know what I'm talking about. And then a couple of NPC henchmen, I think they're called, and
Yeah, we already had one henchman already, and the new player was going to be the other one.
Right. And then that'll fill the group out enough for you to actually adventure. But personally, me, I would tell you now is the perfect chance to really explore other games that are literally designed for small numbers. And there's so many of them out there, I say Blade Runner, but hey, Traveler can literally be like you can play Blade Runner, right? The game Blade Runner or the
Yeah.
game Aliens, or you could play Traveler, except also just do those things. That's the thing with Traveler, since it's just like, oh, you're a colonial space marine. Okay.
It'd be easier for me though if he chose Call of Cthulhu. I know that game, those
Well,
game mechanics
BRP,
pretty
right?
well.
Yeah,
Not just
BRP.
BRP. I played Call of Cthulhu before. I'd be a little bit rusty, but I can still play it.
Of course you can. You've got a character sheet. It's got your skill lists on it with the numbers. And so anything you need to do that requires a skill check, depending on the difficulty, he'll tell you what to roll. I mean, or she.
Hey, he's a Brazilian guy from Brazil.
Cool. A Brazilian guy.
Yep.
Have you ever asked him if he gets Brazilians?
Ah.
That's a no, right?
No, I never asked. It's like
Right. That's what
With
I
him.
said. That's a no. You've never
with
asked.
him, I'd probably just do the don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good policy. Is just like, I'm not going to ask that, and I don't actually want to know. You start asking our dude about his Brazilian, it could cause all kinds of misunderstandings. Like he could start thinking, this dude might want to get with me and shit. And if he's into that, the next thing you know, I mean, you're in a romance that's illegal in some countries, and it's just like, a whole thing, right? And you may not want that. But D&D, two or three players can be fine, yes. Of course, the way I run it and the number of people I have around my house, it's always 6 to 10. And this last adventure, it was 8 player characters. They hired 2 henchmen to adventure with them, and they hired 10 hireling men-at-arms to guard their encampment and shit. Now, the men-at-arms would not go into the dungeon and fight for them. They would just do labor, set up camps, guard and shit. They weren't adventurers, and they let the players know that right off the bat. We are not adventurers. We're here to make gold, to feed our family. Like one of them that they always talk to, he was always like, look, man, I got 5 kids to feed. You know what I mean? Because, of course, I stole that from Total Recall. And the players loved it. And so, yeah, that happened. And that's with 8 players at the table. They still hired, because they didn't have a mage in the group. So they went to the inn and looked around, and they ended up hooking up with a girl named Sarissa of the Black Coast, who's like a level 11 mage. And she agreed to go on the adventure for a shit ton of the money and all of the arcane scrolls. And later they found out, just by interacting with her, is she, after that adventure, she intends to head down to the county of Ulick, where she's already been given permission to build a wizard's tower, and she intends to open a school and take on apprentices and stuff like that, which she could have done literally 2 levels ago, but she's doing it now. And then the players met with the evil mage Kellic and his party, which is, War Duke and that bunch.
Yeah.
But they met in a neutral location, and no one had any weapons on them. And they traded him the manual of whatever gives you +1 to intelligence.
Supreme Intellect.
And he traded them like a ring of feather falling, a +2 crossbow of accuracy. Nothing else really comes to mind. Oh no, a staff of healing for the cleric. And they, did they ID'd the items, and everything was on the up and up. So they traded and they left. They're a little bit worried about War Duke, who they've fought a couple times now. But War Duke didn't have any weapons. And while they're sitting there in the room with Kellic at the tower, Kellic was serving everybody lemon cake and tea. And one of the players like, this is damn good lemon cake. And Kellic is like, well, don't thank me, thank Warduke. He baked it. And they're all looking at Warduke like he bakes lemon cake. And Kellic's like, yeah, when he's not, pursuing his one hobby, his other hobby is bakery, you know. So I kind of made Warduke more than just the Michael Myers of D&D. He does have a soft side. When he's not murdering everyone, he likes to make pastries and cakes.
That could be darker too,
But mostly he likes murdering everyone.
because in
And
the
his brand
apocalypse,
of evil isn't really even evil.
yeah,
It's just he 100% believes might makes right.
yeah, he's just a
And that controls every one of his actions. He believes if you cannot hold on to your possessions, you don't deserve it.
and technically you could direct him to do good. It's just keeping on that would probably be a little
Well,
bit
he
different.
used to adventure with the Paladin Pureheart until they
Yep.
found the Heartstone. And I mean, Pureheart always knew that Warduke was bloodthirsty, like this guy's a little bloodthirsty, right? But then when they found the Heartstone, it brought out the innermost part of him. And for Warduke, it was the bloodthirst. So they're no longer friends anymore. They had to part ways because, Warduke tried to kill him.
Oh, dang it! Now I was thinking of something. Now I can't remember it.
Because, that's Warduke. That's his thing. And if I seem to be obsessed with the Warduke thing, it's because I am.
It's
little
a
bit.
fun story. I could get it. It's like me and listening to like Thrawn, like the Thrawn story.
Yeah, he hangs out in the shady Dragon Inn. He's evil as shit, but wasn't always.
I guess I'm a big fan of like the whole really good tacticians.
Yeah, Warduke is not a really good tactician.
No, I get that. I'm just talking about for me.
Yeah.
I like people like Thrawn or really good detective stories. I love detective stories too.
Well, dude, that's why I'm saying get your DM to look at Blade Runner.
Hmm.
The whole Blade Runner game, like Call of Cthulhu, is a detective story.
Yeah, true.
Because if you're playing a Blade Runner, and in the new one, you can choose whether you're human or a Nexus 9, like Agent K was. It's like the whole point of the game is you are investigating whatever effed up shit has been going down,
Yeah, I mean,
That literally is the point of the game. Some jacked up shit has gone down. Figure it out, And I personally, love it. Love it, love it, love it. But one thing about Traveler 2300 is they added what they call shells and dolls, and they are just straight up replicants. So, kinda. A shell is an empty robotic body that you can have made to look identical to a human that a character with a neurojack can literally jack into and control. So a lot of businessmen and whatnot, when they have to be somewhere for an appointment, if they can't physically make it, they send a shell. And then when they jack into the shell, they can negotiate business through the shell. You see what I mean?
yeah.
Of course, the negative is shells are, for the most part, shells and dolls are, for the most part, outlawed in the core world, which is Earth and Terrain, or Terrain, however you say it. But
bet
they're
you for a
relatively
weird reason.
common in the colonies,
I bet they were.
including robots that are designed specifically to be courtesans.
Yeah.
So sex bots and shit.
Yeah, I figured.
Yeah.
Probably why they were kind of banned on Earth, or
Yeah,
core
but
worlds.
on Earth they're banned. But then again, Earth in 2300 is like the scummiest place ever. like people are doing everything they can to get away from it because I mean it's filthy and no one's got a job and you know it just sucks and people are like F this, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway,
What?
that could be a game you might like. If you want to play hard mode, get Twilight 2000 and just let it be like a game where it's you and one other survivor trying to, you know, not get murdered in Poland.
One thing is, I'm gonna be happy once I get to make a new character. I guess that's always a fun part.
Oh man, the henchmen betrayed them. I ran my party. Now I can say it since they've left the AO. I ran my adventurers through the Lost to Massage Camp, and they finally beat it after being teleported all over the universe and everything like that. And when they encountered the vampire maiden in the final room, the freaking dwarf rolled an 11 on his turn check and turned it. So the level 11 fighter slash vampire took off in terror because, you know, the roll. And they spent the time grabbing all the loot and getting the hell out of Dodge, which means that the possibility of that character as a reoccurring villain is there, you know? And I kind of dig it, you know? It's like, all right, you know, I mean, cool, right? Just in my Magic UV box right now, I'm curing a bunch of like bits and pieces of humans that have been torn to shit. So, you know, just bloody guts and limbs and half bodies and stuff. And I'll probably put them on little bases and find a use for them. You know, like if the players walk into a room, just drop a few of those around the room and be like, this room is full of completely torn apart human bodies. And if we're playing the sci-fi game I'm talking about running, some of those human bodies might actually be slashers or leapers that are pretending to be dead. Because one thing that slashers and leapers do, even though they're not individually intelligent, they're very cunning.
Hey James, I remembered what I
They'll
was thinking
pretend to
about.
be dead.
Yeah, you know how you talked about Ward Duke and him having the pastry type of hobby?
Yeah, he likes to bake.
He could also mix it in with
Stay calm.
his bloodthirst, because I remember a story about the Apocalypse Stone where literally there was a devil who will actually hate you because he won't be able to go back to, you know, the hells in the story because of
Right?
all the crazy stuff that happened. One thing he does is like slaughter a whole town, replaces the villagers with his own people, and cooks the people up into meat pies for the players to eat.
Ew.
Yeah, and in the book it will say, "Oh, you don't have, you know, just give them a weird feeling about the meat pies and not have them eat it." But I'm like, you know, it'd
No,
be
give
much
them the
darker.
weird filling and then let them decide whether they want to eat it or not.
Yeah,
And then if they eat it, be like, "Ha, sorry, bro, but
you ate people.
you ate people, man."
One thing is, I'd probably put out like a couple of hints that this town might not be exactly right.
Well, when they
But
take the first bite, tell them this pork pie tastes weird. You know,
yeah, maybe that. But if anything,
you
I would
know.
not give them a hint that the meat pies itself is bad until they either bite into it.
And then if they're smart, they spit it out, and if they're not, they're like, "Ah, screw it," you know, and they eat it, and then it's like, oh. I mean, I don't know what you would do to punish the players if they were like, "Fuck it, I'm eating it anyway." I mean,
Also, that town was like illusioned up really well because if they do sleep in the in the inn or the bed, it'll turn into what it really is a bed of spikes and stuff like that.
let me tell you of the days of High Adventure Lab. There was a time, not very long ago, when basic D&D came out and it introduced a monster that has for some reason never reappeared since basic D&D, right?
Yeah.
I think it's in OSE, and it is called the Devil Swine.
Ah.
And the Devil Swine is kind of like either it's a demon or some kind of really fucked up lycanthrope, right? And it has a very powerful charm ability. And its favorite thing in the world is to eat human flesh, right?
Yeah.
So what they do is they go to small villages here and there and whatever, and they just charm everyone. And then they either become like the burger of the village or the butcher or whatever, and they turn all of the villagers pretty much into like cultists / cannibals. And then one day the adventurers are walking down the highway from point A to B, and they happen to wander into the village. At which point the devil swine will try to charm them. And if not successful, then you could have a whole run and gun fight between the adventurers and the charmed town folk and this demon pig who literally normally appears like a fat man, but can take his true form, which is a massive pig. And I don't know why AD&D got rid of that, but man, that monster always, maybe it's because of stories my grandma told me about, the white pig of the wood that would eat you and shit like that. That was like an evil spirit. But whatever the point is, that monster really resonated, I think is the word, with me.
Another thing that devil will actually do is find your family members, kill them, and turn them into flesh golems, so you'll have to fight them.
Yeah, I'm sure a demon pig would do that too if it like escaped and decided to become a long-term villain. But
I mean, how cruel is it to have their players have to fight their own family?
Dude, it's cruel just to kill a player's family. A lot of players get pretty triggered by that shit. Hey, by the way,
it's not
family,
like the with
you
the
get a message, your dad is dead, and nobody knows. They just found that his cabin was full of blood, but no one can find the body, and it's like, wait, what? That's the kind of shit that gets player characters like moving. You know what I mean? Because now they're like, I'm going to hunt somebody down and kill him for sure. That's
now, James,
what's going down,
It's not even that these people, these monsters would be a threat to the players. It's more psychological warfare against these players because they'd easily crush a flesh golem.
Well, why even worry with a flesh golem?
It's basically
the guy kills their whole family and then reanimates them as zombies, and then leaves them on the farm, mindlessly doing whatever tasks they used to do. And then the player characters decide to come home to visit their family because they haven't seen them in a while. And dad's out in the field just mindlessly hoeing at the ground, but he's dead. And then when they see the players, of course, they're like, brains, and, come after them. And the players are just like, yep, make a sanity roll or lose some sanity.
Oh, and sure.
Semi-intelligent mutated boars. They seek to, and it's a thing that was in original like Mulvey Cook D&D, the devil pig or demon pig or whatever. And OSC, I think they made them a type of lycanthrope, but they're evil as shit. And their whole deal is they're gluttonous bastards, and their favorite thing to eat is human flesh, generally cooked into pies and stuff. And that's what brought it to me is Leth talking about,
The
his
meat pies.
demon with the cannibalistic meat pies. And I'm over here being like, there was a demon 30 years ago or whatever, but for some reason, like I said, they got rid of it and they just never brought it back. It was kind of like, and
It's the
it's
cleansing of
kind
the
of a
game,
weird
man.
thing, it's like, that's such a cool monster, and again, I know you probably never heard of it, but in the mountains of Appalachia, the idea of an evil spirit that can take the form of a big pig is something I was told about as a child
I
to
think
watch
it's
out for. You know
James.
what
I
I mean?
think it's more of lessening the evils of the demons and devils to make them more sympathetic. Like, oh, it's not that they're truly evil; they could be redeemed.
No.
No,
Like just because Warduke likes to make lemon cakes when he's not slaughtering
doesn't make
people
him a good guy.
doesn't mean he can ever be redeemed.
Yeah,
Because his one pure joy
but I
is
can tell you,
the feel of his sword slicing through somebody's skull.
that's what they're trying to do, though. It's the lessening of the evils of the
Yeah, I
demons and
hate that.
devils to
I
make
hate
them
that.
sympathetic and maybe,
And you know what? You might be right. That might be why the devil pig vanished. Because when AD&D come around and all the satanic panic, I mean, yeah, that's actually brilliant. Left, you could totally be one. You could have solved the mystery that I've been wondering about for 20 years.
I mean, we already have demon posters who try to go like, "Oh, demons aren't evil."
Oh God, Tiefling. I hate Tieflings. I hate Tieflings, especially when a player wants to play a Tiefling, but they insist on playing a Tiefling devoted to like the Infernal Path. So literally, they're like either related or in some way serving a demon from hell.
Nope.
But then they're hanging out with paladins and shit. And it's like, call me old fashioned, but this paladin's cool with the fact that you worship devils and stuff. That seems
Oh,
kind of odd,
before I
to me,
forget,
but,
Shark, I'm playing like a modified White Wolf game, but set in a fantasy setting.
well, the thing with White Wolf is, other than the hunters, pretty much everyone's evil.
Yeah.
The expectation is there. Let's be honest. Werewolves are assholes. Wraiths are really assholes. Mummies are assholes. Vampires, by and large, are assholes. So even the Fae are assholes. Hunters, you can argue, aren't assholes because their whole deal is they're broken people who just
What
want
about
to destroy all vampires.
what about mages?
Assholes.
Assholes.
The biggest assholes, actually, mages. Mages are such assholes that in the White Wolf games I play, they don't even allow mages. Because, like, the way magic works in White Wolf, which you probably know about, if you get to pick like 3 dots and some spheres, and then you can spend points to get a couple more dots if you want, a beginning mage with the right dots and the right spheres can instantly kill a vampire.
Yeah.
And I'm talking like an elder.
And
Because you
here's the
can
thing.
instantly turn that elder's blood into magma or some shit.
And like first edition's even worse because like a couple of dots in there, you can basically turn a vampire into a lawn chair just for funsies.
Right.
It's
And
like
so
this
if
stuff,
the
fair.
DM is not really, really, really making sure everyone is abiding by paradox and shit like that, mages turn into fucking just trouble. Just absolute trouble,
I get that.
And then there you are. You're just sitting there like, F this, these freaking mages with all their bullshit.
I do kind of like the lore of Mage, but yeah, the game's horribly unbalanced and broken if, Paradox isn't used at all.
Yeah.
or remotely well.
Well, I mean, my brother that was running our vampire game, I directed him to Black Lodge Games stuff, and he watched that, and he kind of changed how he runs the game now, based on how they talk about running the game. So, like, one thing I've always disliked about Vampire is at a point it goes from whatever it's supposed to be to a superhero game. Because I mean your characters are very powerful, they can basically do whatever, and and that's not fun, things start getting to where they're just not really challenging. Um, but the way Black Lodge talks about playing the game is like more like the Sopranos. Like my character has to work to pay up through the line. So the primogen needs a cut of whatever I'm doing. And the primogen's going to pay up to the prince. And, how you go up in vampire society is pretty much how you play politics, but also how good of a provider you are, a producer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and it doesn't have to be money. It can be lots of different things, blood, or maybe, killing the local Sabbat bishop. But whatever it is, your character is not sitting on their ass all day.
Possibly money, depending on the character too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, money is an option, but
Yep.
I'm saying there's lots of options.
There's lots of options. Maybe if
And,
you're good at certain skills, he'll want you to do jobs for him.
right. Like I said, maybe they found out that there's some Sabbat on the south side of town getting into some shit. So they're going to put a hit out. Or let's make it even crazier. Maybe a member of the cam really embarrassed a very powerful vampire within the organization. They can't kill that guy in Elysium, but they can hire you to knock him off at some future date. You know what I mean? So basically, your character is being hired to put a hit out on a vampire that should be a friend of the organization, but stepped over the line. Maybe broke the masquerade, or maybe killed a vampire without permission, like in Goodfellas. You know what I mean?
Yep.
When Joe Pesci's character kills the dude in the bar, and then later they shoot him in the back of the head.
Or maybe here's something.
You could be that vampire shooting the guy in the back of the head.
A few murders happen, and he needs a detective to find
Yeah.
something out.
Yeah. And when you get the story going like that, where you've actually got shit going up and downhill, vampire turns from a, hey, I'm a undead superhero that can run faster than the eye can see, to damn, I need to figure this shit out, because the last thing I want to do is piss the prince off, because I know for a fact that son of a bitch is not above sending people to get your ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If he feels like you can't be trusted, or you've betrayed him or something, you might be the guy getting shot in the back of the head in the empty room, right? So it just changes the whole flavor of the game for the better. Shark and Adventure, I actually want to write, and I might use AI to do it, because why, I don't care, is about the adventure would start off with a professor or something finding an artifact for sale in like a really old five and dime in a very small town in eastern Kentucky, like southeast Kentucky, right? And when he gets that artifact back to the university, wherever it is, whether it's University of Miami or University of Miskatonic or whatever, they realize it's like this super prehistoric thing, and it has to do with like perhaps mythos stuff, etc., right? So these professors can then choose if they want to hire people and whatever and go back to that little town. What they don't know is the holler people at the end of the holler are really degenerate, inbred people. And most of the people in the town are also. And they worship Shub Niggurath, the black goat of the wood with 1,000 young. And they do rituals on different, Beltane and this and that and the other, because it's a religion their Scots-Irish ancestors brought from Europe with them. And like, there's a chili house, there's a restaurant in town that serves all this stuff, but you don't ever want to eat the chili because it's generally made out of people. And, so it's basically, now that I've said it out loud to you guys, it's basically the Dunwich Horror hillbilly style. So instead of going back to the town and realizing most of the people in the town worship Dagon and they're fish people, you go back to the town and realize they're all worshiping this really dark, evil fertility goddess and committing incestuous things. And what they do is, like, during one celebration, they all just have all this sex, incest and whatnot. And then during the next celebration, if any children were born out of the incest, those children are sacrificed and eaten. And the whole time, you may have some of the dark young hiding in the woods, watching, accepting the worship in the name of the mother goddess, right? And then have the players get involved in this shit. And yeah, I think that would be a really awesome way to kind of combine some Appalachian folklore and boogeyman stories with the mythos, And I think it'd work great, but it's a matter, I'd have to design a little town, which would be easy. It'd mostly be a street with some stores and then side streets with trailers and shit. And then a park, and then a narrow path in the park that leads further down into the holler where there would be a cave system where the degenerate humans live. And then maybe a site somewhere on a hilltop where there would be like, the place they dance around naked and do their ceremony. And maybe they might talk to an old Cherokee somewhere and he might talk about the evil spirits in the mountains and, you don't want to go down that way and this and that. And I mean, you could have like this whole thing, right? And so basically it would be a combination of Hotel Hell, The Hills Have Eyes, and The Void, and the players, depending on what kind of characters the players are playing, because if the professor hires a bunch of, 1920s and 30s gangsters to be his bodyguard, then the story could turn into a investigation / we need to kill this evil cult, get the Tommy guns. And if it's a bunch of academics, then the story turns into, we've got some artifacts, we need to get out of here before they kill and eat us. Plus, they don't know who to trust because everyone in the town, even the preacher of the so-called Baptist church, is in on the thing. You know what I mean? And it's just been that way for 200 years plus. Right. I mean, the town folk are the ones that are the least mutated. They're the most passing. But the holler people, as they would be called by some people, these guys are, like the Bean family. They've been living in caves, worshiping this evil goddess and freaking inbreeding and eating people. So, and they might have some Native American blood in them, because you can even argue that maybe the white settlers of the region learned this cult from some really corrupted natives that were here. So this cult goes back before the first white men even come to America. Because let's be honest, the Asian people that walked across the land bridge into America, right? If that's a true story, in the mythos universe, they could have been mythos worshippers. And then, they carried that story all the way down to the eastern seaboard. So yeah, yeah. So that's a campaign that's running around my brain. And then of course I've already told you guys the other campaign, which is, space mercenaries going to this ship way out in the middle of nowhere and trying to figure out what happened to it. And then all hell breaking loose. And it turning into a bad time for everybody.
Turns into Dead Space.
Yeah, it's just straight up Dead Space, let's be honest. It's just Dead Space. Yeah, you would, wouldn't you? If you're in the town and you're staying at the hotel, and like in Dunwich Horror, the hotel's got a lock, but if your player actually makes a skill check and investigates the lock, they realize that the lock can be opened from the outside. Like there's a secret way. So now they're thinking, okay, you're in the hotel room and you can lock the door, but it doesn't matter because the people who know can just open the door. And that would give the players this feeling that no matter where they are in the town, they're not safe, right? And just have, when they're at the hotel, if they look out a window, just have one of the locals standing across the street nonchalantly watching, but trying not to look like they're watching, but, watching. And really lean into the paranoia, like it's like everyone they talk to kind of has this look on their face like they know something you don't, because they do. And lean into that and watch the players, start twisting in their seats. Knowing my group, Haas, my brother, as soon as he started feeling weird, he'd be like, I'm getting in the car. Fuck this. You know what I mean? He'd be like, I'm cranking that Model T up. I'm out of here, And the rest of the players would have to be like, no, hold on now. You were hired to do this job. And he'd be like, I don't like the feeling of this shit.
It's like, I gotta go.
Knowing my brother, that's exactly how he would handle it. Because he is that guy. Rolls into the house, shit starts bumping in the night. He's like, well, time to go.
I think I'd be similar. I don't think I'd be different on that one.
Yeah, it makes it kind of hard to run certain adventures when one of the players is always being intelligent.
Yeah.
Because in order to run a good horror story, you need the players to actually be invested in staying and trying to figure out what the F is going on.
Yeah.
And if one of the players is simply not at all bothered and in no way curious about it, then what do? He's just like, oh, there's some shit going on here. I'm leaving. Not my problem, and then you're just like,
I think one of my DMs got lucky on keeping one of my characters in the story. He found something that he had something in the story that basically made that character want to stay in the story.
Well, yeah. I'm just saying though, some players are going to just be like,
I know. I kind of made the kind of a sleazebag criminal kind of guy. And one thing that he had in the story was gold. So my character's like, oh, gold, I gotta get it. Oh, crap, I'm stuck in this lighthouse surrounded by fish monsters.
See, in my campaign, it would be the artifact is so old, like we're talking Paleolithic era, and carved in a stone that they're not 100% sure what it even is. And so the university is willing to finance the expedition.
Fair.
So
probably.
the professors can hire other players at maybe even double the wage they would normally get. So if you're just like a World War I veteran and you're down on your luck, and they're like, hey, we kind of need a security guy or something, and you're like, yeah, And they're like, yeah, we'll pay you, $5 a day or something. And you're like, holy shit, a sawbuck a day. I mean, remembering that it's 1925.
Yeah, 1920. So that's a lot.
Right. So then that way, that's why the characters are there. There's definitely a huge monetary reward. And you can even say the university is offering an even bigger like bonus for everything they bring back. So like the more artifacts you bring back that are tied to this prehistoric cult, then the university is going to be willing to pay you for these artifacts. And so then that gives players, I think, more motivation to actually go into this crazy place. Yep. Yep. I did something in a game one time, and I don't know if I should be proud or feel bad about it. I was DMing the usual suspects, so the 8 people I game with now, and an encounter happened, and I really got into the encounter. And we were playing.
Uh-oh.
Gets the sound of a baby crying, but it's.
We lost James, I guess. I'm not sure.
And
oh. Uh-oh. Yeah, I think we're losing James. It's my show. There he is.
Yeah. It's like, welcome to the Let's Show. But anyway, so they heard the baby crying in the woods. And of course, being a bunch of good guys, they decided to go try to find the baby. But it wasn't a baby, it was a paranich. And a paranich is a type of Russian/Slavic monster that when a woman gives birth to an illegitimate child and just leaves the embryo in the woods or whatever, without performing, the correct religious rites, there is a chance that that creature, that fetus, will become a paranich, which is pretty much, the simple TLDR is it's a fetal vampire. Except it can fly and control the weather somewhat and be invisible and charm and drain levels. So all of the most horrible shit a vampire can do, except it's a fetus. It can try to strangle you with its own umbilical cord. And that's exactly what it did to Haas's character. And everybody had a great time that night, and they're like, oh, that was a really intense game, right? The next day he called me and he's like, you son of a bitch, I had nightmares all night. And I was like, sorry, bro,
is that my fault?
It is what it is, right? I'm over here running a game and, apologies. Yeah, but he was like, all last night I kept having nightmares of a laughing baby cooing in the woods and then a monster trying to eat me. And I'm like, well, so basically you were dreaming about the encounter you had. And he's like, yeah. He's like, you shouldn't do stuff like that. And I'm like, dude, my game is based on Slavic mythology, right? You know this. And he's like, I do. And I said, well, then, welcome to Slavic mythology, brother, because that's just what it is. And he was just like, damn, man. Like, yep, damn. I didn't disagree with him. That is some creepy shit, let's be honest.
It is.
Having a freaking undead fetal baby flying through the woods, trying to kill you, yeah, that's absolutely scary. Usually the first person the paraneic will kill when it is reanimated is its own mother and family. It'll come back from the woods. And because they can control the weather, sometimes they'll summon up storms to blow over the barn and the house of their former relatives. And then they'll go in for the kill. They assume that every new player is some kind of evil monster. Yeah, I don't know, man. Most of my players have been playing together for so many years that none of them would dream of playing that kind of character. And I'm pretty strict about I don't allow evil player characters because I have a theory, a whatever, that I don't want to run these ambiguous campaigns where it's like, the priest is always evil and no one's ever actually really good. At some point in my D&D life, I decided I actually wanted to run a fantasy where there is absolute good guys and absolute bad guys and very few like sneaky bastards in between. You know what I mean? Now, every now and then I will throw a sneaky bastard in. Don't get me wrong.
How about this, James? Can I play an awakened gorilla?
In Traveler 2300, absolutely 100%. Because in Traveler 2300, certain of the nations on Earth have uplifted certain animals. And the silverback gorilla was one of them, as well as dolphins.
Okay, in Traveler 2300, can I play an awakened gorilla cyborg?
Yes, because 2300 has cybernetics. So if somehow you were an awakened gorilla that somehow was set free or whatever, and then you had earned enough money to buy the cybernetics, then there's absolutely no reason you couldn't have the cybernetics put in, especially if the character's not on the core worlds. Because again, on the core worlds, a lot of cybernetics and shit like that are illegal.
Yeah.
But once you get out into the colonies, it's like, free for all.
I can play that gorilla from One Punch Man.
Basically, yeah. If you play a gorilla, your character tends to get like a relatively huge bonus to their strength, but they get negatives in like education and stuff like that. Because I mean, even though they're uplifted, they're still not entirely, super
intelligent.
geniuses.
Fair.
I mean,
wouldn't make mine a super
they can
genius.
do shit, but the main reason you would uplift a gorilla is
for manual
because
labor.
Imagine how great they would be for labor.
I want to be an experiment of a crazy mad scientist who wanted to make a gorilla soldier.
That is absolutely 100% forbidden by treaty of all the nations on Earth. Which means they don't say, but that means that somebody tried it.
Yeah.
Probably during the Central Asian War when China and Russia decided to go at it, which happened shortly after the Twilight War, which was straight up just World War III.
And after I lost the battle with the bald guy, I just decided I don't want to do this anymore. I'm just gonna be good and not cause trouble.
You know what's funny though, is even with your huge bonus to strength, right?
Yeah.
The possibility exists that you'll be wandering around on the frontier and run into this really short, stocky human from the colony of King. King has like 1.6 or 2% or 2 times the gravity of Earth. So what the humans that live there have done is genetically modified themselves to withstand that level of gravity. And as a result, they're all tough as shit and also really, really strong. So But the negative is, in addition to like, thickening and hardening their bones and more muscles and their bigger heart and all this shit, they have to be small, and their life expectancy is cut by like 30 years. So instead of living up to 120 years, they die around 80. However, they possibly could be on some worlds as strong as you. You got this little guy who used to work in a mine on King, and he's manhandling all kinds of heavy weights and shit because he's doing shit on 1G world, and everything is like literally half the weight to him that it would be if he was home, because of gravity differences. So something that weighs 500 pounds for him is 250. And if he's, a fit ass miner from King with like a 10 plus strength attribute, I mean, 250 is nothing. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, but that I run like right now, the game I'm running is in the world of Greyhawk. And I'm even doing funny shit like the Dungeon Master. They've met him. And I mean the little gnome with the red clothes with the gold trim from the cartoon. They've met him. They've actually been in a tavern with the kids, except the kids are all grown up now. So Eric's like this really big, tall, muscular barbarian with a big fucking club, right?
Yeah.
And that might seem campy and silly, but at the same time, my world is points of light. So once you get 10 miles outside of a city or even 5, literally anything could happen. And if you get off of a highway, especially if the highway you're on is patrolled and you decide to cut through the open land, literally you could run into anything and horrible shit could happen to you. So yeah, my world's kind of a eclectic mix of, it's friendly and cool here, but at the same time, we could all get murdered and ate by orcs if we go out into the woods and shit, or worshippers of evil gods, Doom and shit like that. So, yeah, I like to keep it interesting like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The players are never quite 100% sure exactly. Like the last town they went to, right? They liked the town a whole lot. But guess who had a tower built in the south side of the town? Kellic the Archmage, who is evil as shit. But while he's in the town, he never does anything bad. Because he likes the town. He don't want to get kicked out, right? So he behaves himself and follows all the laws in the town. But that don't mean he's not a party member of Warduke and the rest of those assholes. And as far as the town is concerned, well, Kellic pays his taxes, and
As long as he doesn't cause trouble in their town.
And he never causes trouble. So sure, there are people that have came up and been like, that dude is evil as shit, and they're like, well, we'll keep an eye on him, but he never does anything. He just shows up to the town when he wants to study and rest and whatever, right? So it's like, and also in OSE, detect alignment is, I don't think, a thing. So I think unless you're a paladin, maybe. I'm not sure.
Hey, James, I'm going to have to get off. It's getting late. I'll see you.
Well, I am glad, because if you're getting off, I'm getting off.
Yeah, okay.
So
Well, not James.
I was just waiting for you. Good night, Leth. This is good talk. And also remember, call Cthulhu. all the crazy stories you've heard about that haunted hospital or whatever near where you live, you could actually turn that into an adventure.
I know.
I mean, and Blade Runner's great for like 1 or 2 players. Um, but I'll
And
catch you
see a
later.
shark.
Sleep well. Emrakul, the chaotic. Yeah. Yeah, maybe in one of the towns that they're in, I'll have him just ride down the street randomly firing magic missiles and shit at people, just to add him into the game. I assume he's probably a Greyhawk character since, you know, Gygax had the art put in the DMG, and Gygax was a Greyhawk man. So, yeah, I'm going to assume Emrakul is somewhere in Greyhawk, and he's obviously a very powerful wizard. So, you know, you can judge how cool the player is by their enemies, I think. If they have a lot of really powerful enemies out there, then you know you're doing the right thing as a player. But since I've been abandoned by both of my brethren hillbillies, I am going to go ahead and end this and then maybe go into their room and see what my beautiful wife is up to. So, everybody, peace out.